Mute all of you. Please join me in Gasho. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our regular Sunday service. This will be the last service for July, and then next week is our Shotsuki monthly memorial service, and then following that, I'll explain at the end, a little complicated schedule, but I'll explain that at the end. I'd like to begin, and also welcome to those who are joining us by Zoom as well. Nice to see all of you again. And we'll begin with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the Nembutsu. No one knobs, no one knobs, no one knobs, no one knobs. for those of you who are here, if you haven't taken the red book, we'll be using that Seitan today. So please make sure you grab a red Seitan. And we're actually going to start off by reading our pledge, which you'll see up on the screen. So we'll be reading our pledge together, and it's on the screens here on the side. I hope it's large enough for you to be able to read, those who are here. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I shall carefully share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall be open-minded and act accordingly, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I shall share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life we have received, I shall live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who continues to emancipate all. Namandavas. We're now going to do the English chant, the chanting of the Shoshinge in English, and in the red Seitan, it's on page 106. 106 of the red Seitan, and for those of you on Zoom, it's on the screen. Namandaps, namandaps, namandaps. Namandaps. Trust in the working of limitless life. Bow to the light that surpasses all thought. Bodhisattva Dharmakara in his seeking stage, Satlokesvara Raja at his Buddha seat. He learned the causes and conditions of each Buddha land, studied the inhabitants and all their qualities. On this foundation he brought forth supreme aspiration, awakening the great vow, all embracing, vast and rare. Through ages of reflection, determining his vow, he reaffirmed his calling name would be heard everywhere. Thus he radiates his light, immeasurable and boundless, unhindered beyond compare, a dazzling, glorious blaze. Light that purifies the mind, light of joy and wisdom, light unceasing beyond thought,
far beyond description, brighter than the sun and moon, illuminating countless worlds. Every being, everyone receives this radiant light. The calling name of the primal vow properly directs us. The vow of sincere and trusting mind becomes for us the cause. Equal awakening is attained, confirming great nirvana. Because of the vow's fulfillment, nirvana is surely attained. The reason that Tathagata came forth into our world was to teach Amida's primal vow, boundless as the ocean. Now beings also boundless in this evil, impure age should respond in trust and take to heart Tathagata's true words. If for the briefest moment the mind of joy awakes, we realize nirvana, though our minds remain defiled. Worldly wise dharma haters all will turn and enter, as rivers pour into the sea, becoming of one taste. The all-embracing mind light always shines on and protects us. The darkness of our ignorance already has dispersed, yet craving, anger, greed, and hatred, like dark clouds and mist, always cover up the sky of true insight and faith. As clouds and mists obscure the sun, covering its light, yet beneath them pure light radiates, no darkness can be found. Receiving faith with reverence, discernment and great joy, without delay we leap across beyond the evil realms. When ordinary beings, whether full of good or evil, hear and trust Tathagata's all-embracing vow, Shakyamuni calls them all superior, clear-sighted. Such people are correctly named white lotus lotus flowers. Amida Buddha's primal vow established Nembutsu. Yet we who cling to evil views with arrogance and pride can never easily receive the truth with joyful faith. There is nothing that could be more difficult than this. The masters of the teachings from India in the West, and all the noble monks who lived in China and Japan, explained to us the great sage came with a true intention to clarify the primal vow accords with everyone. Shakyamuni Buddha dwelling on Malanka, to the multitudes foretold one day in India South, Mahasattva Nagarjuna will appear in this world and destroy dualistic views of being and non-being, transmitting Mahayana, the Dharma unsurpassed. He will realize the stage of joy, be born in the land of peace, and teach that arduous practice is like struggling down an endless road, while joyful trust in the easy way is a peaceful voyage at sea. With mindful recollection of Amida's primal vow, without design instantly we reach a certain stage, and with the soul eternal praising of Tathagata's name, let us repay the kindness of the great compassionate vow. Bodhisattva Vasubandhu in his discourse stated that he had surrendered to unhindered light, relying on the larger sutra. He revealed true virtue, made known that with a great vow we leap over birth and death. Through the power of the primal vow, transferring us its virtue, he revealed the single mind, delivering all beings, entering the all-pervading precious sea of merit. We surely will be numbered with the great assembly, allowed to reach the lotus world we realize true suchness. True Dharma nature is attained clearly without doubt. We play in the forest of passions, yet manifest wonderful powers. We enter birth and death's garden, transform to benefit all. The king of Liang in ancient China, revered Master Tanwan, and daily bowed toward his teacher, a bodhisattva in his eyes. When Master Bodhairuchi gave Tanwan a Pure Land text, he burned his Taoist books and placed his trust in the land of peace. He wrote a commentary on Vasubandhu's discourse, reveal cause and effect of birth, both come from the vow. We depart and we return because of other power. Only through the mind of faith is Buddhahood assured. When the mind of faith awakes in ordinary beings, we are made aware that birth and death is nothing but nirvana. And when unfailingly we reach the limitless and radiant land, we will save the myriad of beings everywhere. Touch, O discern on the noble path. Attainment is hard to confirm, and clarify the Pure Land as the sole way to break through. Criticize self-power practice of the myriad good works, and urge us only to recite the perfectly virtuous name. He kindly taught us face aspects, pure mind, single and constant, guides us as the Dharma declines toward outward form and extinction, meeting the all-embracing vow, though doing evil all our lives, we reach the world of nurturing peace, realize the fruit of enlightenment. Shantao alone shone light upon the Buddha's true intent, empathizing with those who practice good and with the rebellious and evil. He made it clear that the radiant name is the cause and condition for birth, clearing the way for all to enter the great sea of wisdom, the primal vow. We then receive the diamond mind, one and indestructible, through one moment of joyful thought in oneness with Amida. With Vaidehi we acquire faith and joy and wisdom. awaken to the way things are eternal and at peace. Genshin studied fully every teaching of the Buddha, chose refuge in the peaceful realm, imploring all to follow, divided deep and single faith from shallow sundry practice, distinguished birth in the true pure land from provisional attainments. He taught that even evil ones should simply say the Buddha's name. I too, he said, am fully in Tathagata's embrace. Though my defiled and anxious mind prevents me from perceiving it, the light of great compassion shines upon me ceaselessly. Our own Master Honen understood the Buddha's teachings with compassion for all ordinary beings, good or bad. He caused the true essential way to flourish in these islands, proclaimed the selected primal vow throughout this evil world. Returning to samsara's house, the wheel of birth and death, results when doubt and lack of trust become the mind's foundation. But when the mind of faith awakes, we are quickly made to enter the home of pure tranquility, transcending all conditions. The Mahasattvas and masters, through teaching the sutras, have saved countless beings so defiled and corrupt. Now in our own time, both lay people and monks, let us trust with one heart what our noble masters have taught. Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandaps, 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 namandaps.
Once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this morning's service. The chant we just chanted was an English translation of Shinran Shonin's Shoshinge. We just finished in June. I guess it must have been 20, I think it was 21 sessions where we did a study session on the Shoshinge. So some of you who may have attended either by Zoom or on Zoom, basically, those sessions may have recalled some of the passages that we chanted. I'm going to read a passage from the Amida Sutra to start off my talk this morning. So if I can ask you either to put your hands together and gasho, or just listen quietly. Shariputra, why is that land called perfect bliss? It is because the people of that land experience no suffering. Rather, they only know every kind of pleasure. That is why it is called perfect bliss. Again, Shariputra, in the land of perfect bliss, there are 7 rows of balustrades, 7 rows of decorative nets,
and 7 rows of arrayed trees, all made of 4 kinds of jewels. They extend over and encircle the whole land. For this reason, the land is called perfect bliss. Again, Shariputra, in the land of perfect bliss, there are many pools of 7 kinds of jewels, full of water with 8 excellent qualities. The bottoms of the pool are covered entirely with sands of gold. On the 4 sides of the pools, there are stairways made of gold, silver, lapis lazuli, and crystal. Multi-storied pavilions majestically adorned with gold, silver, lapis lazuli, crystal sapphire, red pearl, and carnelian stand alongside the banks. There are lotus flowers as large as the chariot wheels growing in the pools. Those of blue color emit blue radiance. Those of yellow color emit yellow radiance. Those of red color emit red radiance. And those of white color emit white radiance. They are exquisite, wonderful, fragrant, and pure. Shariputra, the land of perfect bliss, is filled with such splendor and adornments. Furthermore, Shariputra, in that Buddha land, there is always celestial music to be heard. The ground is of gold, and 6 times a day, mandara flowers gently rain down from the sky. Every day, during the tranquility of the early morning, the people of that land fill the hem of their robes with those exquisite blossoms and go to make offerings to them, to 100,000 kodis of Buddhas dwelling in the worlds of other quarters. Then they return to the land of perfect bliss before their meal time. After the meal, they enjoy a stroll. Shariputra, the land of perfect bliss, is filled with such splendor and adornments. Moreover, Shariputra, in the land there are always many kinds of wondrously rare and beautiful birds of various colors, such as a white swan, peacocks, parrots, sharikas, kalavinkas, and jivakas. 6 times a day, all these birds melodiously sing in elegant harmony, their sound proclaiming such teachings as the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors for awakening, and the Eightfold Noble Path. When the people of the land hear those birds singing, they all become mindful of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. The passage I read this morning is a description of what we call Amida's Pure Land, or the land of bliss. In Sanskrit, Sukhavati Vyuha Sutra, Sukhavati Vyuha, which means the land of bliss. And the reason why I bring this up this morning is, as you can see in our altar, we have all these different offerings. And I was asked recently at one of the services, memorial service, a family member asked me, said, "Sensei, is there a significance why we have to bring 8 oranges and 8 apples?" As you can see, if you count all the apples and oranges, there's 8 of each up there, okay? And the only reason why we have 8 oranges and 8 apples is because we have the little stand, and the oranges and apples fit nicely in those stands. That's the only reason why we have 8 oranges and 8 apples, okay? This is what we call an offering. An offering, in Japanese, there's a word called kuyo. And sometimes over the many centuries, this word has sort of been misinterpreted. So if you look in the Japanese language, what kuyo means, it means offering, but it says to the Buddha or to our deceased. We make these offerings and we pray for their well-being. That's translated literally what it says in the dictionary. But in fact, this word offering, it comes from the Sanskrit word called puja. And when you look at the word of puja, it literally means with respect to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, we make offerings. Okay? And so if you go to India and you go to the various Buddhist sites,
you'll find the attendants of those sites, majority of whom are Hindu. They will ask you, they'll say, puja, please make an offering to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. One of the funny stories is that in the year 2000, Roy and Itoko were on that trip. We visited, we did a pilgrimage of India. And one of the sites is called the Vulture's Peak, Rajagriha. And there, it's said that the Buddha gave the talk of the larger Sutra on Amida, as well as the Contemplation Sutra on Amida. But it's this, I would say it's more of a hill than a mountain. But you climb up this hill. What did you say? It takes about 45 minutes to, no?
At that time, it changed now.
Oh, it has, okay. Oh, okay. Well, it took us about 45 minutes to walk up. And the whole idea of this, I don't know when this started, but the whole idea was that you walk up before sunrise so that you reach the top exactly at sunrise. And, huh? 5 in the morning, yes. And so when you get to the sun at the very top, you're supposed to have or do service or whatever you're doing as the sun comes rising up over the horizon. So I remember in the year 2000 when we went, the morning was a very foggy morning. So when we got up to the top, we couldn't see anything, no sunrise or anything. But what was interesting is at the top, there was a fellow, the attendant there, and he was telling us, puja, make offerings, make offerings. And in that bowl, the offering bowl, was Benjamin Franklin. It's a $100 US bill, okay. We were the first group up there, but I think this attendant was very smart because, you know, he's playing on our psychological thing, right? If you see a $100 bill in there, you can't put in like, you know, whatever it is. It wants you to put in more, right, basically. But that aside, the whole point of this is making an offering with respect to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And before, it was said that some of the things, it was broken down to 4 items. Cloth or clothing, food, place to stay, or medicine. These were the 4 different kinds of offerings at the time of the Buddha. Okay? And then over the many centuries, this has developed more and more. So now we have various kinds of offerings. And amongst the offerings, we recognize incense as one of the offerings. This is supposed to represent the fragrance of the Pure Land. Okay? In the passages I read, we talked about the flowers that fall down and they have beautiful fragrance to them. So the incense represents that. The chanting is an offering. Okay, it talks about the 6 different kinds of birds in the Pure Land chanting or singing 6 times a day. And so in the original Jodo Shinshu practice, in the Pure Land practice, they used to chant every 6 times a day. That's quite a dedication to do that. But that's where it comes from, these birds singing 6 times a day, all urging us to focus on the Dharma. And of course, some of the other food items, as well as the flowers, and the candle light. All these things are considered offerings. And so when we make these offerings, we are reminded of the oneness that we share with all beings. It is said that these offerings are a reminder to us that just as we give to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, we receive the compassion of the Buddha, we receive the teachings of the Buddha, and we receive the community, the oneness of the community. And so it instills in us this feeling of being part of a whole. And so out of gratitude, we make these offerings, and we put our hands together out of gratitude to say thank you to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so with that, so again, the only reason why there are 8 apples and 8 oranges is because it fits our little holders. But you can actually bring anything, although we do ask people, try not to bring things that rot easily, like meat, right? So that's another interesting offering that we don't generally have here. But if you go to many of the Chinese temples, you'll find bottles of water as an offering. And water is offered as the essential of life. Without water, we can't live. We've been under water restriction now, and they're just saying, I think August they're going into phase 2 or level 2 of water restrictions. The drought throughout the world shows us how precious the water is. So water is also often seen as an offering, not necessarily in our temple, but in many of the temples you'll see that. So I'd like to just close my Dharma talk by asking you, please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And finally, we'll close the service with the singing of Ondok-san. When the words I will bring up on the screen. It is in the Red Seiten as well. You have the Red Seiten here. It's on page. It's in the back here somewhere. I thought. I could be wrong. Anyways, it's on the screen, so you can see it on the screen. And I'll just bring up the music for it. Please be seated. Stop sharing here. So this will conclude this morning's regular Sunday service. As I mentioned at the beginning, so next Sunday we have our Shotsuki monthly memorial service. Then on August the 13th, there will be no service here. I'm off on the island with the Vancouver Island Obon Cemetery tour, and Roy Sense is away, so we don't have anybody leading the service on the 13th. Then the 20th, 27th, and September 3rd, I'm on holiday, so Roy Sensei will be looking after services. And there will be no Zoom service during that time as well. Okay, so just so that you know, people that are joining by Zoom, there will be one more Zoom service next week, which will be a joint English and Japanese service from 10:30. And then following that, up until September 10th, there will not be Zoom services. Okay, thank you, thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day. Namandos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sensei.